we're back with another episode of Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, where we cover the latest news and trends with the Lakers and, of course, everything going on within the NBA. Right there for you at the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we also cover the latest news and trends, this time in pop culture, each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, of course, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. If you have a question for us, of course, you could just go ahead and hit us up, isfantasyfootball at yahoo.com or Inside Sports FF on Twitter. Also, as well, go ahead and make sure you check out the Domination Sports Nation. They're the best there is when covering the sports world, so go ahead and check out what they're doing wherever you get your podcasts. And if you could please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe today to get the latest notifications on the Pop Culture Cosmos YouTube channel when we go on for another Pop Culture Cosmos, PCC Multiverse, State of Pro Wrestling, great interviews, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and more. So go ahead and subscribe today. You'll be glad you did. Well, those are the only people who will be glad because there's a lot of people that are very upset after a very momentous week one, probably one of the most memorable week ones I have seen in quite some time, if ever, for fantasy football. And here today to discuss the aftermath, I feel like it's a car wreck because there's a lot of damaged bodies out there. Good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he and his son, Dominic Lardieri, are doing today at Domination Sports Nation. It is the very brave because he has the Giants banner in the background. It is Chris Lardieri, fresh back from the islands, wishing after watching that game on Monday night, he was still back on the islands, my friend.
For multiple reasons, I wish I was back on the island of Maui. Great to be back, Gerald. We still support the Giants here, although that was an atrocious start. It's bad when I'm on a cross-Pacific plane ride, and thankfully we had TV access on Southwest Airlines, and I even turned the game off in the second quarter, so went right back to listening to podcasts.
I hear you, my friend. That's what I always do. I always load it up with podcasts so I don't have to hear about what's going on in the outside world when I go on one of those long flights. But it's great to have you here, my friend. I want to give a big special thank you to Magic Man Sean Grice and Joe Sorrell from the Lakers Fast Break for stepping back in for Chris Lardieri. I hope to have them back on future shows right here at the Inside Sports FF. When it comes to fantasy football, my friend, last week, again, as I mentioned, NFL Week 1 was one of the most monumental I think I've ever seen as far as the number of injuries, the number of bad plays, bad games from expected top players. Just truly a plethora of places to start and places of note. Obviously, the biggest one of all, Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles. He's done for the season. Could it be done for his career as well?
I really don't know what to think because my mind goes back to the late 90s and Dan Marino with that Achilles. I know he came back from it, but he wasn't the same player. Let's face it, Rodgers is going to be 40 years old later this year. And as a middle-aged male, I can tell you firsthand, the body does not recover as quickly as it once used to. So I think he'll give a go at it. I think, he wants to remain loyal to the Jets for what looked like resurrected his career at one point, but what needs to be determined is how his body responds. But I think he'll rehab with the intention of coming back. But that said, we're back to Zach Wilson.
That's true. And, I know the coach earlier today said he's going to win and this team's going to win with Zach Wilson. Do you have the same faith that the New York Jets team, which did actually pull out and eke out a win over the Buffalo Bills, which is mainly based off their tremendous defensive performance on every one of the Bills, just absolutely a terrible performance by Josh Allen. 3 interceptions, a fumble, looked terrible. He's at the top of one of my fantasy football teams, so I'm hurting. But yeah, do you think Zach Wilson could be the man for the New York Jets?
He has to be, but from a fantasy perspective, no. From a purely football fan, armchair quarterback perspective, I think the Jets will do a lot of what they did Monday night. I know I had to think on the fly and change, but they will run the ball a lot with Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook, and they will let that defense win games for them. That said, I think phenomenal catch by Garrett Wilson last night, and we know Zach Wilson hooked up with him a number of times last year on touchdown passes. So I don't think that hurts his value as much. But from Wilson down in the wide receiver core in terms of fantasy, I don't think that bodes well if you own Jets receivers.
I will tell you, my friend, you just truly appreciated the time that you take each and every week to talk to us right here at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Once again, it is Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation. Go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the Domination Sports Nation, along with his son, Dominic. Of course, right there for you, Dominic Lardieri and Chris Sardieri at the Domination Sports Nation. I do want to tell you, though, Chris, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and shut it down because the guys from the Lakers Fast Break are probably going to be using this network here. I will bring it back. If you are watching on YouTube, thoughts on the Raiders Bills, I'll tell you what, Devotion, I will be back in less than 5 minutes on this YouTube channel. And I will go ahead because I got to get on some other streaming software because Magic Man and Joe Soro got to go ahead and interview the guys from the Phoenix Suns. Chris and I will be back in less than 2 minutes. I've already got the links readied up. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes right here at the YouTube channel for Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Be right back, Chris. I'll send you the link.